guys. Today we're back reading Nim's Island. Today we're reading Chapter 8. Okay, let's get started. Chapter 8. While Jack was waiting for the sharks to disappear and hoping that he could fix his rudder without worrying about Nim, he saw a ship. Jack danced a jig and sang a song because he wanted to get home even more than he didn't want to be rescued. His song didn't rhyme, but it didn't have a tune, but it went, I'll be home soon, I'll see Nim tomorrow, the plankton can't wait, and everything will be alright. The ship came closer. It was a cruise ship, a pink and purple cruise ship. It was the Tropo tourists. Jack stopped dancing and stopped singing. His face went pale and his stomach was sick. But Nim had been alone for too long, and he knew what he had to do. In the cabin, he found the flags he'd never used. One with the blue and the white cheeks, and one without the stripe. When he put them all together, they said, SOS, come and rescue me, to any sailor who saw them. Then he waited, and the longer he waited, the more he didn't want the Tropo tourists to see the island. He didn't want to talk to them. He didn't want them oohing and eyeing and taking pictures of his home. But the longer he waited, the more he didn't want Nim to be alone. Sad flags fluttered from the mast, and he went on waiting. But the Tropo tourists sailed out of sight. Early next afternoon, when Nim was sitting in a palm tree to watch for Jack, the ship came to the island. Just in a speck of the distance, Nim cheered and thought how she would run to the farthest point, out keyhole, home, blow her shell, whistle, and shout, Jack needs help, look for a boat with a broken rudder. And then she saw the colors through the spyglass, and she knew that she could never call out to this ship, because no matter how much she wanted Jack to be home, now what she wanted was for him to be happy, and he'd never be happy if the Tropo tourists came to this island. And even though they didn't know it was Jack's island, if they passed the blue waters of Keyhole Cove and peaceful sands of Turtle Beach, they know it was the most beautiful island in the world. They'd come with curious tourists to fill up the island with holidays and noise. Oh no, they won't, said Nim. She raced to the hut and turned on the laptop to aka@incognito.net. From jack.russo@explorer.net. Date Tuesday, 6th April at 14 o'clock. Dear Alex Over, I hope it's okay to write so early, but could you please tell me right away what if your hero would do if the bad guys were coming to his island and he wanted them to go away and not notice it? From Nim. 2. Jack.russo@explorer.net. From aka@incognito.net. Date Tuesday, 6th April at 17 o'clock. Dear Nim, it's okay to write anytime, and it doesn't even have to be about coconuts, unless your parents have another rule. When my beautiful lady hero was escaping from the bad guys in sands at sunset, she disguised herself in old clothes and grease till she looked so ugly they didn't even notice her. But the whole island is the trick. Somehow the hero would have to make the rocks seem more dangerous, the reef more terrifying, and the pale sands bleak and lonely. Make the whole island seem like a creepy, scary place. This sounds like an exciting game. Your friend, Alex. The ship was coming closer. Nim would have to work fast to disguise the island. The sea lions were on the rocks, coughing, barking, honking. All the usual sea lion conversation, but Nim was interrupted by shouting and waving arms. Selkie swam, barking reproachfully. The ship came closer. It was slowing down. It had seen the island. "Bad boat," Nim screamed. Selkie looked confused, and the other sea lions stared. "Shoo!" Nim shouted. "Get off the rocks!" Grumbling and grunting, they slid into the water. Nim dived after them, but Selkie blocked her before she'd gone 3 strokes. "I'll go back," Nim pleaded, "if you stop the boat." So when Nim was safely on the shore, Selkie headed with the other sea lions out to the reef. The ship stopped and lowered a small boat down to the water. Creeping low, out of sight, the snooping binoculars, Nim jumped into the tidal pools and snatched up armfuls of iguana's favorite seaweed. The small boat cast off with a snarl of its motor, and the king of the sea lions bellowed back. If the boat found its way through the maze of the reef, Shell Beach will be the first thing it would see. Crawling across the pebbly rocks and sharp white shells and blood flowing red from the cut on her knee, Nim threw handfuls of seaweed from one end of the beach to the other. Fred followed, nibbling as fast as she could put it down. "You can have a coconut," she promised, "if you'll bring all your friends to the beach." Fred looked at her. "As much as a coconut you can eat," Nim said. With a sneeze of surprise, Fred scuttled away from rock to rock, tidal pool to sea, until the beach was covered in spiny iguanas munching on free seaweed. From the reef, it would look like a beach of bumpy gray rocks. And maybe they would turn around before they saw Turtle Beach. Nim sneaked back to her lookout palm. She shinned to the top and clung high and still. The boat had nearly reached the first gap in the reef. It was close enough for Nim to see the people inside, wearing pink t-shirts and purple caps stuffed with a stuffed fish on top. Suddenly the gap disappeared in a swirling, thrashing sea lion storm. The boat idled on past, looking for another place to get through. But the sea lions followed. The king roared his roar, and the others bellowed. The splashing sprayed higher, and the boat rocked wildly, and was slowly, fiercely pushed out to sea. From her tree, Nim could see something else. Galileo was circling the boat. Galileo had never seen pretend fish before. Galileo's rule was, if it looked like fish, it was fish. And if someone else had that fish, Galileo would steal it. He called to his mate. They dived together to snatch 2 fish caps from their heads from the boat. The people screamed and swore, throwing their arms all over their faces. But the giant bird only cared about the caps. They spat out the first ones into the sea and snatched 2 more to see if they tasted better. Now the boat jolted, tipping hard as if it had hit a rock. "Please don't get hurt," Nim begged the sea lions. The boat steadied, the engine roared, and shot back across the water. The tide was going up. By the time the little boat had been lifted onto the ship, the reef was jagged above the water, so the tropical tourists cruised on past. But they didn't go away. They went as slow and as close as they dared, past Turtle Beach and around the point where gray birds clucked. Nim crept down to the beach, tried not to cry. Chica lumbered out from the water, a smug look on her face, and purple paint across her shell. Nim remembered the jewels. "Did you hit them?" she asked, scratching under the turtle's chin. Chica looked smugger. "Everyone tried but me," thought Nim. "It stinks." Turtle Beach stank too. It stank worse than a bad day at the Hissing Stones. "Yuck," said Nim. A half-dead shark was washed up in the tide. "No one would land if they could smell that," said Nim. "I wonder if Alex Rover's heroes would use a rotten shark to fight for his island." She sprinted into the hut and grabbed her wagon, dumped into the shark, slimy and rotten. It was a long, puffing haul to the hissing stones, but Nim would have pulled it to the top of a mountain if she had to. The steam was drifting out of the sea. It was an extra stinky day, but I'll fix that, said Nim. She dragged the shark out of the wagon and across the biggest vent where the steam hissed out between the stones. The steam stopped coming out, and the shark didn't smell any worse than it had before. What else stinks? Nim wondered. Sometimes seaweed washed up on the black rocks, and it didn't dry out, and it didn't wash away after a while. It began to rot. Nim scrambled up and collected shirts full of purid sea muck. She poked her head around the point. The ship was cruising past breakers when the black rocks met the reef. Nim clutched the seaweed and tumbled down boulders to the hissing stones. The shark smelled so bad now that she wanted to vomit, but she dumped seaweed onto the steaming vents and ran back to hide out the stench out of sight. The ship rounded the point. For a long, long moment, nothing happened. Nim had dumped so much muck that no steam could escape. It was too late to do anything else. The ship was across some saline point, right in line with the hissing stones. The shark exploded. The rotting seaweed fountained. The build-up steam sprayed into bits of the rotten shark and seaweed. And Nim didn't know what. In a rushing geyser far into the air, the gentle breeze wafting into the sea turned into a gray, choking, sick-making fog. The ship turned and steamed out of sight. That evening, Nim was so tired she couldn't eat, and she felt so cold and empty inside and so hot and itchy outside that she took her flashlight and towel and went up to the pool. Nim loved the ocean because it was always there wherever she looked and as far as she could see. But it was too huge and powerful to understand and too dangerous to trust. The pool was easy to love because it was small and that she knew every rock in it, and it was so peaceful she could float peacefully as the sky got darker and the moon and stars came out while the muck and muddling washed away. Okay, so that's all we're reading today.